Hello, Sandy. This is Clarissa. I'm just checking a couple of things, make sure I've got my microphone on. Yep, okay. Because I've been known to make these recordings and not have the microphone on or the volume up. Make sure, yep, I got it up. Okay. All right, just a quick video to show you how to do that applique technique you were talking about. It's easier for me to do a video than write it all down. So absolutely, you can take a ready-made applique design and turn it into a blanket stitch instead of a satin stitch. So first you start by loading your applique design, and let me get one out of my folder here. I've got a folder called applique. So we'll get one of these cupcake designs here. Let's see, let's get a bigger one. How about this one right here? All right, and the important thing on loading that design is having this checked, convert to outlines. If that is checked, once this loads, it will, let's see how to explain this the best, it will break it into pieces to make it easier to edit. Okay, so make sure convert to outlines is checked and load your design. All right, so there's my cupcake design. Let me see it in 3D. I'd like to see it in 3D. It's pretty. All right, so here you can see the different steps to the applique. There's the placement line, there's the tack down line, and there's the finish line. So the finish line you want to be a blanket stitch instead of a satin stitch. Well, what happens with Floriani Total Control U is when it brings this design in, it takes and makes that a fill pattern called a satin stitch. So it's interpreting this as a fill pattern. Don't know why that does it, but it does. So if you can see in your properties box, this is in my fill type section, okay, and it's a satin stitch. Okay, now it's easy for me to change that. Actually, no, never mind that, what I just said. Once it's a fill pattern, you can only change it to another kind of fill pattern, basically. So I could change it to a fancy fill pattern, whatever, okay? But you want it to be a stitch instead of a fill pattern. Okay, so the easiest way to do that is to just grab this placement line, which is the first in your 3 steps of your applique, and then just click on one of the stitch types at the bottom called applique. Okay, so there's applique. And what it's done is it's just created a whole new applique. So here is the whole new applique on top right here. Okay, so that's what it just created. It created a Floriani FTCU applique. So I no longer need my placement line, so I can delete that. I can delete that satin stitch, don't need that anymore. But what you can see is it created a satin stitch applique. So all I need to do to change it to a blanket is click applique type and change it to blanket. And of course we can manipulate, maybe make that blanket stitch a little wider. And there's our blanket stitch. But what happened, excuse me, I had pepper for dinner and I got one. Sorry. All right, so what happens if we zoom in over here, you can see we have somewhat of a train wreck. So let's put this part of the applique to sleep. And you can see what happened here. So first of all, I don't want this going across this section here, because I'm going to have an applique stitch around the frosting. So let's select that blanket stitch. Okay, and we can see what's going on if we click the third icon called shape. Okay, we can zoom in on that. And we can see that it sees 40 billion million stitch points there. That's all the stitch points it sees. So, first of all, what I would do, I would move my start stop over here somewhere to get those out of the way. And then I just start deleting these stitch points. So select it and click delete on your keyboard. Select, delete. Just get rid of all those stitch points that it's seeing. Whoops, we got rid of one too many, and notice that went away, so let's back that up. Let's keep that stitch point. Let's delete these stitch points. And let's see, is that, yep, that's good right there. Okay, so let's move this stitch point over to here. And then right click and woohoo, yay, much better. Okay, so that looks good. All right, so the next thing, I don't want this across here, so I have it selected. So let's select it. And actually, as an applique piece, I still want the placement line to be the same and the tack down line to be the same, but I just want to change the blanket stitch. So what I need to do is I need to split this applique up so I can play with the blanket stitch. So I'm going to click on applique there, right click, break up the applique. So now my applique is 1, that is fine, that's my placement line. 2, my tack down line is good, and 3 is the stitch I want to play with. So once I've got my blanket stitch selected, I select that shape tool again, and let's zoom in on the top part here, and let's do some playing around. So once again, let's move that start and stop out of the way. And we have that stitch point there. So let's right click and split that line. And let's go over here, right click on here and split that line. And you know what? It did not work. Let me try one more time. What might have happened was, let's zoom in closer. Remember we had 2 stitch points that came together here? Nope, it's only 1 now, so let's try it again. Right click, split the line. Oh, there we go, now it happened. I must have not grabbed the proper one because I've got a separate piece there and it's different here. Oh, good, it did it. Okay, so you can see that this is now highlighted and this is a separate piece. So if we look over on our sequence view, and this is where it broke it up, I just delete that second part of the steel stitch, and there you go. So there's my applique, all ready to go. And let's actually right click and show all. That will bring everything back to awake. And there you go, there you have it. Okay, so like I said, the easiest way is just to take the placement line and turn it into an applique, and then delete the original satin stitch and stitching lines. All right, so there you have it.